Hi everyone, welcome to the Java EE, the next H, the next frontier. Today we have a new guest here, a very special guest, a friend of mine, Michael Nascimento, also known as Mr. M. Michael has a long story in Java community. He has worked with many JSRs, some specifications for older versions of Java and Java EE, and now he's working for also being validation. Michael, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for accepting our invitation and thank you for your time.
Hey, Elder, it's a pleasure for sure.
So, Michael, we all know that we are almost on the release date for the Java EE 8, maybe Java EE SE9. I don't know, maybe we have a little delay after
it's more likely to have a delay, I would say.
Yeah. So, what kind of involvement do you have with these new versions, the GSRs that are moving on? What kind of involvement do you have?
Good. So more formally, I'm serving on the GE for Bring Validation, and for that I have followed very closely what was happening and contributed in the areas I thought my contribution would be more useful. But I tried to revise everything that was sent there. And besides that, I've been trying to keep track of how date and time is being integrated into what other JSRs. So like JSF, I was able to speak to Ed Burns, and I was sent the link of what they did there, which was fine. And I've been following also the support in JPA for that. And besides that, I've been tracking the progress of some JSRs that are more closer to my heart, let's say, or more meaningful to the everyday work I do, like CDI. So I think that these are the ones I've been following more closely and actually giving feedback to.
Sure. So you've been watching most of the Java EE umbrella, right? The key points of.
Yeah. I would say though that I'm more interested maybe in what's more in the back end and maybe a little bit less on the web tier itself. Even though I'm familiar with the changes, and I actually think that we have great changes in this area too.
Sure, we are back end guys.
Yeah.
So what about the B validation? What you can tell us about the specification?
Cool. So the new Beam validation version, I think that some of the main key features, of course, there is Java C8 alignment in terms of now we have repeatable annotation. So most of the wrapper annotations we already have been changed to actually work a little bit more properly in terms of repeatable annotation support. So now all of them have been properly marked as repeatable annotations, and the container annotations were used for that. But besides that, I think the two key features that one is more straightforward, another one is a little bit more confusing and more more powerful though. One is the alignment of support for date and time, right, which was released in Java C8. So we have the date and time API support and beam validation. So you have past and future working on top of most types, most temporal accessor implementations for those temporal accessor, actually. Got the pronunciation wrong. So for most temporal accessor implementations, such as local date and time, local date time, and even some chronology specific types, they are now supported natively by all beam validation implementations. And another interesting feature that is more powerful, but it was very tricky to get right, is the support for the multiple annotation sites that we have now in Java C8. Actually, that's even a not well-known feature of Java C8, I would say. So this means that if I have a list of strings Java C, I can now annotate the string itself as not null. Instead of saying add not null list of string, I can say list of not null strings, right? So that has been possible since Java C8. We can validate returns, we can validate, not validate, sorry, we can annotate those elements. And of course, one of the main applications is validation, right? The GSR that added that to Java C8 made it possible by using the checkers framework, right? So it's not actually standardize this part, but you can process these annotations in compile time. So that's one of the key uses, right? So maybe you can make sure that you cannot attribute null to a not null string, and they have support for that, for instance, in terms of coding. But there is the other side of it, which is when you collect your data from somewhere else, like we're doing in the validation, right? So your beans get populated somehow using different frameworks or your own coding or some file parsing that you did. And how can you make sure, for instance, that you have a list of not null strings? So that was not possible before. You could say that you wanted a not null list, which is, I mean, lists probably you could already even initialize them to begin with and only allow them for the elements to be added. But if you want to say rich things like I want a list of size 3 strings, for instance, there is no easy way to express that unless you code around it. And now with the new Beam validation version, there is support for that. So the whole constraint model has been evolved so that we can do that. We can support optional as well. You can support JavaFX wrappers as well for that. So the support is pretty comprehensive in this area. So I think these are probably the key the two key changes to Beam validation. May I talk about the other GSRs too?
Sure. Go ahead.
Great. So more of a glimpse, I think, of the things that I like. In CDI 2.0, I like the fact that now we have a standard API for booting CDI in Java C. So especially when you're talking about microservices or more modular applications in general, not necessarily microservices. Sometimes you might use CDI with Java C. So this makes CDI a little bit more in par with Spring, with the Spring framework, because now you have support outside Java E for that. Another important thing that I think it's not only restricted to CDI is the support for asynchronicity, right? So you have asynchronous events in CDI 2.0, native ones, and that's something that we have in several other GSRs. So if you look at the new servlets, you have a server sent event, and you have support for completable future. If you look at JAX RS, now you have better support for synchronous calls. So we are moving to a more reactive world, and I think it's good that Java E is supporting it by means of the APIs, especially by embracing completable future, which has been tremendously enhanced in Java C8, and there was no support whatsoever for that in Java E. Now we have it, right? So I think this is really cool. CDI has some other features that I think that are cool, like now we have proper observe or event ordering. Some things that we had in Weld, like annotation literals, they have been added to CDI 2.0 as well. And well, and of course you have a HTTP2 in Servlet 4. I think that that's pretty important. And in GPA, they are also doing some polishing, so kind of the same things we did in Beam validation, which is making repeatable annotations being properly supported in JPA, and also they're adding support for date and time there. GSF is also adding support for date and time, and doing things requested by the community. So GSF and JPA, they are more they're doing a little bit more of alignment with Java C8, in adding some minor features requested by the community. But I think one of the main things to keep track of in lots of GSRs is the support for a more reactive model that I think that will evolve even more in Java EE 9.
Sure. Oh, awesome. As we can see, you have a whole view about the specifications and the Java EE and the improvements.
Oh, but a little
yeah.
bit on the side.
Yeah. What are expectation about the release date? Do you think we can get the July or some point in the summer, or you think you have some delay?
Well, I think that Java EE is probably more likely to make it. Of GSRs are more involved. I see they have been progressing according to plan. The ones led by Red Hat, like CDI and being validation, they are pretty solid in advancement. Some others like JPA, they're just doing a maintenance release. So I think it's on track. Also, JSF has been. I think that JSF in general is probably one of the most. It's a beautiful example of how the JCP can work. It's a JSR that is really just listening to the community and also suggesting things that are relevant to the community. And lots of features get contributed by many different people from the community. So JSF is pretty much on track. It might even be done already. I'm not sure by this detail, but I feel so confident about JSF that besides checking what they did with date and time, that doesn't worry me a lot, So it's great. But in general, I think that Java EE 8 is in good shape when it comes to the schedule. I think that Java CE 9 is the one that might let us down. I think it will probably let us down in terms of schedule. I hope that it will not let us down in terms of features by the time it's finally released.
Yeah. Well, it took a long time since the Java E7. It was 4 years. Yeah, if I'm not wrong. 2013. Well, it was a long time since that version. Do you think this long time between versions will work for bad or for good in terms of adoption and in terms of trust in this version? What do you think about it?
Well, one important thing is that I think the only reason because we have to keep in mind why Java EE 8 is so delayed. It's clear that the migration we're having towards the cloud and cloud native applications, it really in containers, it grew very fast, right? It really changed the way that we're building enterprise applications. And for a while, the impression we get from outside is that Oracle thought that maybe that would require a completely different new technology. Maybe they weren't giving as much attention to Java EE because of that. But with Java EE Guardians and the micro profile movement, it made very clear that the investment in Java EE was valuable. And more than that, we have frameworks like Camel EE, Wildfly Swarm. You have Tommy EE, produced by Tommy Tribe. You also have several other. You end up having several other vendors who somehow had support for microservices and cloud native applications using Java EE technology. So it became very clear that there was still a lot to do in that field, and that led Java EE to emerge again, which is great. So I think that the delay only shows the fact that we're still getting a release after so many years shows the strength of Java EE and the amount of interest that people have in involving Java EE and having a Java EE version that is better suited for the challenges we have now in enterprise applications and also for better supporting Java SE features. So I think that for anyone who has been embracing Java SE, it's really we can see we really can see that a lot of things like stream support and repeatable annotations, and even dates in time. You have to be writing converters and providers everywhere. When it comes to being reactive, not having a reactive servlet API was quite limiting in terms of supporting that. And since that's the direction you want to take your current application, if you have a Java EE application, you want to support Java C8 features in that and want to make it reactive or at least more asynchronous as a first step. And I think the Java EE 8 is doing that quite well already. So I think that for anyone using Java C8 in production with Java EE 7, adoption will happen very fast. It makes a lot of sense. Things work better when you have the same Java EE version aligned with the same Java C version. So I think especially for these people, adoption will be fast. But when it comes maybe for people who are still stuck in Java EE 6, I mean, releases ago, the fact that it's that these changes are happening now, it might be a driving force for those who can only adopt a new Java SE version when they have the support, official support by that Java EE version. So, for instance, Java C8, of course, it provides a lot of interesting features that people can use right now. Right, and lots of enterprise customers would like to use them, but the products that they use there, or even the open source application sets they use there, unless you're using a supported Java CE version, or which is at the same level of the Java EE version you're using, cannot upgrade. So for some of these people who are stuck in Java EE 6, if the only reason they're stuck there is and they want to use Java C8, right? So that's another important driving force. You want to use Java C8, but you cannot use it unless you have the new Java EE version. That's another good reason to adopt it. And if you are looking for a more reactive way of programming, if you're looking for a synchronous web call, it's also important to move to Java EE8. So I think that in the end, the fact, I would summarize as the fact we're getting a release so late, after such a long delay, means that Java EE is relevant. And on the other hand, I think that the expectation, when the expectation is for Java C8 support, we have great support. When it's for reactivity, I think we have great support. When it's about making it more cloud native, we're still getting maybe 30% of what's needed. The other 70 will come with Java EE 9.
Got it. So you believe that people that are already on Java EE 7 and using Java C8 won't have any problem to make migration to Java
They
EE?
shouldn't, and you should be able to delete a lot of code, which is also good. Maybe it's homegrown code that they made to implement converters, attribute converters, and all sorts of converters all over, or constraint validators for dates in time, for instance. They won't need it anymore. This kind of code is really subtle the way it works. There is a Java 1 talk I did, I think 2 years ago, that I talked a little bit about that, about how to migrate to Java C8 using Java EE 7, and I did a lot of that. And when you do that, you find out that there are you also find out about a lot of little things that are not so well specified in Java EE specifications, and you have to check how the specific implementation you're using is supporting that version that you have to migrate. So besides, of course, reporting those things and having them better specified in the new Java EE versions, it's a relief not to worry if I migrate from my Hibernate 4.something to Hibernate 5.something. Will my attribute converter now break because now maybe it will call the methods for null, or it will not call them. So that's the kind of thing that I actually experienced in real life while trying to support Java EE 7 on top of Java C8. So it's good to get rid of those problems, you know.
Sure.
Actually, there are bugs that are just waiting to happen, and with the new release, you have something that will work consistently. You don't even have to code those things anymore. So that's great, and actually it's a step forward, and it's an easy migration, and it will also eliminate lots of bugs that might be just hidden there waiting to happen.
Sure. Uh, Recently, we heard about the migration for Java 8 to GitHub. For me, what's a great news. What do you think about it? Do you think that the community will you feel like a little closer to the specification and to get involved and to work on the maybe on Java 9?
Hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting. If you look back at the roots of Java.net, when Java.net was released, the, there was the tools we had for community building and working around technologies back then. They were not unanimous and they were pretty limited. Uh, uh, Recently, GitHub became the de facto standard, and I think that's one of the reasons that Java.net is being retired and that Java is moving there. But it's good. Now I have a de facto standard, and the fact that Java EE is embracing this de facto tool, the one that everyone is using and moving there is great. It will help a lot because people are more familiar with the workflow of GitHub, how to do pull requests, and even how to configure integration when we're talking about code changes. I think it will certainly increase adoption. It would be a great idea if we have something more like that for Java C. There are some mirrors provided by the community, but it's not the same, you know. But on the other hand, if you think about it, lots of specs already happen in GitHub. So, for instance, the whole bean validation, it's done in the wild in GitHub. Even the proposal I wrote for, I mean, not that I wrote, actually, I took the proposal from Gunnar and I made several changes with the help of Stephen Colburn, who reviewed some of them. So we did it in GitHub, and it was easier because it's something that you're familiarized with. So I think we'll have more people contributing to it. For sure, it's a great advancement, and it's working great for the GSRs which are already there. So as we have the whole family now in one place, it will only make things easier, you know, and the experience is better, you know, if everyone is using GitHub for most projects they do. So if all Java EE JSRs are using GitHub, it makes much easier to contribute to different ones and not having to learn a different tool or a different workflow to contribute. We have to lessen the barrier to contribute to Java in general, and I think that's a great move.
Sure. Yeah, you have been doing some works with like headhunters, maybe from the next year or 2 years.
Uh-huh.
What kind of career opportunities do you see on this releases, Java 8, Java 9? What kind of opportunities do you see for developers around the world?
Oh, great! Uh, I think that lots of companies will need to move from older technologies to these new technologies, and it's one that's always one key differential for your career. It's been several years that I've even for the company I worked before, but now also hiring for other companies. It's been quite a while that people have been requesting, for instance, for Java C8 knowledge. And only this year, I mean, several years after, is that we start seeing a number of people who are familiar with Java C8, and they could be working in Duke's Choice Award winning companies. You know, that's what some of my customers are. They are winners of the Duke's Choice Award, but unless you are familiarized with the most recent versions, they're not going to hire you because this shows that you're not keeping up to date with cool technology that is meaningful for their businesses. So it's really important for developers to know about these technologies. So they must learn about the new features in this technology, especially the one if they are passionate about. So if you consider yourself an expert, or if you love CDI, you must know about the new features in CDI. The new features in the server JAX-RS specification, they are essential too, because they are a building block of the platform. So you must be up to date if you want one of these updates. And if you happen to be a Portuguese speaker, at least for now, sorry, who knows about Java C8 and who is already studying about some of these new technologies, if you go to the website of my company, improving.com.br, at the very bottom there are some links for some job openings for people who are familiarized mainly with Java SE8, but also with many other more modern reactive technologies. And you learn a lot. So actually, it's interesting because learning on your own is what will lead you to job opportunities where you can learn even more in practice about cool technology for the people who are sometimes evangelizing them or working the pioneers in their field. So this idea of I want a job where I can learn, it will only work for you if you're already learning on your own. So at least what is publicly available about the technologies you work with, or technologies that you think that, oh, I think that this might work great with what I'm doing. You must get to know them. And just a comment that is completely unrelated to the question that you made, but somehow I couldn't fit in what to discuss so far, and it just
Go ahead.
struck me now, is that things like Docker, for instance, right? Containers. Everyone is talking about containers. And a great thing about Java EE and containers, and especially Adam Bean likes to mention that a lot, is that Java EE is much more ready and much more fitting for the use with containers than other technologies. Why? Because when you prepare, when you have your war, right, if you're dependent mainly on Java EE, you already have a base image of your container with all your dependencies. So for every build, you have a very small sized war. So that's the only part that's going to get rebuilt as you make your Docker image, for instance. So understanding these technologies, these new technologies like containers, for instance, it might show you even another advantage of embracing Java EE, or it might show you a weakness in Java EE. You can look and say, look, as I look at this cloud provider, there is this cool thing that we don't support in Java EE. There are things like, for instance, Amazon AWS SQS, the queue that they have there, it has a JMS interface, for instance, right? So it's cool to see how you can embrace those cloud native technologies and make better use of them with Java EE. You only get to know that, and that's how I got to this point. If you study them, if you're familiar with them, and if you want to put this knowledge into practice, if you want to work with a cool technology, first you have to study it on your own and be able to code it, to have your side project to do that. And especially in one thing that I say, if you leave one bureaucratic company that maybe you have to be waiting for 2-3 hours between tasks because it's now going to QA and there's nothing you can do. You cannot pull another task or study for it. You study these new technologies. That's what will get you out of this place. So use the time that you have. The time is limited. We have to balance our professional life, our personal life, and other things. But use the time you have to study these cool technologies. If you want to work with them, you have to know at least enough of them, at least what is publicly available, what you can read in a book. What you can get from a book, you must know. And there are plenty of books that are being released about these technologies very soon, especially my friend David Heffelfinger, who has recently been accepted as a Java champion. I know that he's writing about Java E8. He's always writing about Java E. That's one of the main reasons that he became a Java champion. So at least those things you gotta know. If you cannot prove, you have to think that there are hundreds of people looking for a job, and sometimes, especially if it is a job abroad, besides English, all these people who are looking to work with cool technology X, of course they are going to hire the ones who have already learned something about cool technology X. You have 100 people saying that they can learn it, but I think it's better to hire the one who has learned something already. So if you wanna work with the technologies, study them to the point that you can code at least the basics using them in a test, or you can discuss them in an interview. So it's important that you study on your own these technologies if you want to work with them in practice. And even if you like your job, but maybe it seems that the company is stuck in an old stack, the only way to know and to build a path that will lead you from your Java EE 5 stack to Java EE 8 is for you to study the differences and to see how to migrate, and maybe even to create a fork of your current code base and start doing experiments, especially using tools that will allow you to migrate source code. That's one of the kind of things that we do to help companies to modernize, to embrace new technology. So you gotta learn these technologies. It's important for you as a Java developer to not only know Java EE8, the parts that matter to you, but to know, at least have a broad vision of what has changed, and maybe to study how can I use that with Docker? How can I use that with a cloud provider?
I totally agree. Totally agree. As you said about books, do you have any resources, blogs, books, podcasts, or whatever that you would recommend for the people from the community?
Well, I mentioned David Havelfinger already, but I think that
It's already released.
no, I think it's on the works. It's on the works. But I myself, but I'm old, right? I've been studying Java for 18 years. One thing that I always do, and I see a lot of value in doing that, maybe it's not the easiest way to do it, but it's the one that will give you in-depth knowledge, is to read the spec itself. To read the spec itself, take a look at the API, try to figure out how to use it. And if it's hard to use it from what you have there, then you research an example in the book. Because if you look at a spec, I don't. At some point, I used to know the number of pages in each spec, but now we have so many specs and so many cool things that I don't keep track of them anymore. But some specs like JPA, they are huge. They are almost or over 1,000 pages. So what it means is that, of course, that no book will ever cover everything in those technologies, especially if they're teaching by example, right? So I like myself to read the specs itself. It's a good way also to finding holes in the spec, and a good way even to start helping, with the spec. And then you can look for examples of that particular API. So as you look for the annotation name, or you look for the API name, you will find other resources for that. Besides that, most reference implementations, they come with a very good user guide, a developer guide. So if you take a look at the current beam validation, the hybrid validator, for instance, not only the beam validation spec, but if you take a look at the hybrid validator, or if you take a look at Weld or any other implementation you have for those technologies, if you take a look at the reference implementation and you read it, usually they have samples. Usually they highlight the new features. So it's good to see what's the difference, to give a highlight. But I would suggest for anyone who really wants to say, I really master this technology, you must read the spec. And people shy away from it, and it's a good way of starting even to understand how the spec should be written, so that in the future you can contribute to it. And it's a good way to find also holes and places where it could be maybe clearer. Sometimes it's there, but it's hard to get from the way it's written. So you could start even by submitting a pull request to that area. You don't understand it properly, you look to some resources online, now you say, okay, but maybe it's just a change in one word or one sentence there would make it way clearer. So you could submit a pull request to make it clearer. So it's a way of learning and start contributing. So it would be really cool to say, I helped to make this spec better. It's a good thing for your resume as well.
Sure. And Michael, going to the final, do you have any final thoughts, any words you can talk about improving your company? please feel free.
Okay, I think it's great for getting Java EE8. I think it's important that more and more people advocate and evangelize for the new features. It's been a while. Some people have moved away, unfortunately, but as I said, we still have a great base of users. If you want to see more changes, especially when it comes to reactive support, please try to help those GSRs. We have the Adopt a GSR program. They're supported by many JEDs, including SouJava. We have many specs that are very open to contributors, and more they are open. That's part of the new JCP rules. So try to help those JSRs that you care about. And if you always complain about, oh, but they didn't do this and they didn't do that, the time to test those changes is now. So if you can, try to test even now. Several of those specs, the reference implementation is available, sometimes in a beta release. Some of them already have a final release, because like CDI has a final release. So take a look at it, work with it, try to contribute to it. And if you want to have a cool job in one company that embraces new technologies, again, go to the bottom of the page at www.improvement.com.br, and there are openings there. Or if you want to migrate from your Java EE 5, 6, 7 application to the modern ones, that's something that we do. There's a cool thing that we do of migrating projects by doing source code transformations by rules. So this leaves there are very few possibilities for error. It's something that we are specialists in doing. So if you'd like to embrace new technologies and you have a huge code base, it's nearly impossible to do it by hand without error. We have the solution for you too. So drop me an email. There is also a contact box at the end of our page if you're looking for a professional service. I think that's it.
Sure, I will put the link on the description of this video.
Great.
Okay? So Michael, thank you again. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Thank you for your time. And we'll see you someday, some event closer to here.
Yeah, for sure. Probably in the next TDC, I should be there, the developers conference in São Paulo, and hopefully Java 1 US. Let's see. If for the ones reviewing there and listening to this talk, please accept my talk. Then I'll be there.
I sent 2 talks. Let's see if they accept.
Yeah. I'm in 2 proposals too. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. So thank you, Michael.
Okay. Thank you so much, Elder, and Java community. Let's work on Java.
Yeah, sure. So guys, thank you very much for your time. If you have not clicked on subscribe on this channel, please do it right now.
Click subscribe.
Click subscribe. If you like this content, give us enjoy. Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye.